All right, you guys wanted the list of the stuff they checked that was required leading up to my going to South Africa in 2012 to study abroad, university level schooling. So these are my immunizations checked for school in Africa: polio, tetanus, measles, mumps, rubella, hepatitis. Today is Thursday, September 2025, and here I, Tanis Coralee of Seattle, reflect on having my immunizations for polio, tetanus, measles, mumps, rubella, and hepatitis checked, including any relevant boosters, before I left for study abroad university level in South Africa in 2012. Staying on top of my immunizations made my international study abroad less cumbersome. It sure did. So I went in and it was like one of those things where it was like, they like pulled up the list. And so I was attending the University of Washington, Seattle campus, main campus. And I went in, it was like November 2011. I'd been approved, and there was a bunch of stuff that I had to go through medically. And one of the things they did was they checked my immunizations. And so they checked my polio, my tetanus. My tetanus included boosters. Measles, mumps, rubella was a sequence, if I'm recalling correctly. So it was more than one vaccine. It was like, if I'm recalling correctly, I think hepatitis was like 1 or 2 or something like that. So but tetanus was the one with boosters. So they not only checked the initial immunization, they checked any relevant booster status. And so those were required because the University of Washington was a public institution, and they were required. I attended public school, preschool, elementary school, middle school, high school, university level in Washington State. And so they were required, and that was enforced, was if I was not allowed to go if I didn't have any of those. And so public school standard is representing the university. They also commented on my meningitis immunization, that, you know, like it was meant for university level students, so like it wasn't required, but it was like noted, like you know, good to have just in case, you know, kind of thing. And then I also had to get immunization for malaria was required to have before, and there were multiple forms, and I haven't done a video on that yet, a standalone video, but I'm working through it. And then I got a yellow fever vaccine in country in South Africa. That was one that was like, you're required to get that if you go to a yellow fever zone, which I did end up going to. However, South Africa itself was not in a yellow fever zone at that point in time. And then I was also tested for tuberculosis before and after my time in South Africa. So it was comprehensive, and it was kind of a surprise. I was and partially, so it was different than if a person just travels there, because there was very much, I even went to the University of Washington Medical Clinic, right, to get and there were university requirements for studying abroad because of the reputation of the institution. And the University of Washington, if you're not familiar, has like a #1 medical system so in the country, so United States of America. So there was like in terms of like the biggest pressure to represent the University of Washington, well, it was actually physiological. And so I did very much respect the standards and adhere to the standards that were required and recommended. So there we go. As my immunizations checked for school in Africa: polio, tetanus, measles, mumps, rubella, and hepatitis. And I think that's everything. I think I've touched the bases in this video. There we go.